Today I'm going to talk about a Wi-Fi switch and a new Z-Wave switch that I'm going to install and connect to my SmartThings AOTech hub. My name is Blake. I'm a professional innovator and designer, and I have a passion for the invisible smart home.
Water leak alert.
Before I talk about these specific smart switches, I want to talk about smart switches in general. Ideally, a smart switch should look and act just like a regular switch. You click this up for on and you click it down for off, and it's mechanical. Most smart switches, in fact all of them, are basically digital. This one's not too bad because it has an up click and a down click for off and on. Here's a few examples of what I don't like about smart switches. So the closer to a real switch, the better. So somebody should design a smart switch that this has a built-in micromotor that moves that up and down when you do it with your phone, or you can move it up and down with your finger. So here's a Sonoff Wi-Fi smart switch that I have connected to my SmartThings through the cloud. And it doesn't really have anything, it's just a flat surface. And you can hear it click, and the light goes on and off, but it's not really intuitive for the average non-smart home person. Also, here's another switch. This one here controls the dining room lights. And what I don't like about it is, I mean, it's kind of a cool effect, and it would be okay to do that in an automation, but when a person comes up and pushes this, and I'm going to push it and point at the lights and you can watch, you click at the bottom to turn it off, and it takes 2 or 3 seconds for the lights to go off. And similar on the way on. So that's kind of cool, but someone, a non-user, might hit the thing twice, like click. Another example, this is a scene controller, and I like this product a lot, and I'm going to talk about this in another video. But this is a Meross switch, and it has no up click, just a down click. So if the light's not in sight, or just in general, it can cause some confusion. You don't know if things are on or off. You have to toggle it there. Something else I don't like about smart switches are the types that have all these wires. It's better to have the terminal blocks, and I think this one here, so let's open it up and see this. Yeah. So this Z-Wave switch just has the terminals. And what's even better than that is version. So this needs a neutral, which is the white wire. But what's better, they have new switches now that don't require the neutral. So there you go. Now let's get to the install. So I've opened, this is the Z-Wave one. That's the Wi-Fi version. Alright, so this is the Wi-Fi version, and this has the wires, which I don't like, but I can make it work. It's always better to have the version with the terminals. There we go. And I'm going to be installing these over here. So here's a Z-Wave switch that's failed, and I'm replacing it. These switches here, so it needs to be the dimmer, so I'm going to put the dimmer version there. And this is for this will be a new install. This is for the outside light here, and I'll be using that kind of for security reasons in combination with a motion sensor. I'm not going to go through the I'm not going to really go through the wiring, at least not on camera. I'm not going to show you that. But if you do decide to wire it yourself and you're not hiring a professional, just be sure to turn off power at the breaker. Even after you've turned off power at the breaker, you need to double check the circuit with a meter or power checker to make sure there's no power in there. And in some cases, really, you might have to turn off 2 breakers. Alright, so I've got my typical tools ready and some MAR connectors. I've got my Z-Wave switch with terminal blocks, or screw terminals, which I like. And I have my Wi-Fi switch with the wires that I don't like, but I'll make it work, and we'll see how these things connect to my SmartThings hub. Alright, so I've already taken the panel off of the wall, and I've pulled out the switches. I think I'm going to start with this one. I've turned off power at the breaker, and I've double checked the power is off. Alright, so I've got the 3 switches hooked up. It looks a bit of a mess, but I just did a quick check before I tuck them in there by turning the power back on and carefully just making sure they're all working like they're supposed to. And now I'm just going to turn off the power again, tuck everything back in there. Alright, so I've tucked everything back in there tidy as I could. A little note, it always seems to be the hardest thing is the mechanical part, fitting everything in there, and even getting this panel back on in terms of spacing. So don't get too frustrated, take your time, and you'll get it right. So, all the switches seem to be working now. So and this is the on and off switch. So it's pretty intuitive, although I don't like just the bottom for on and off. That would have been nice if they did a top and a bottom for on and off. Alright, so let's start with the Z-Wave switch. So in checking the documentation, I can see there's some settings for the little LED that's here. You might not be able to see it. I think in this case I like the idea of the LED being on when the light is on and the LED being off when the light is off, but you can also set it to off altogether or to opposite so that it's on when the light is off and vice versa. And the idea between on when it's off is so that at night you can know which switches is or you can see it. But I like the idea of just setting it to be on, which I think is what it's at now. But the way you change it is click, 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 click. And then that toggles between the different settings. That the pairing mode is just a single click top or bottom to put it in Z-Wave pairing mode. Now, when I'm pairing Z-Wave devices, I like to first exclude it. It's probably not necessary in this case, but sometimes if you don't know where a switch has been or if you're just having trouble getting it to Z-Wave pair, it's always good to exclude it. And the way you exclude it in SmartThings is you go to the hub and then you go to Settings, Z-Wave Utilities, and Z-Wave Exclusion. Now the exclusion usually seems to happen faster, so that's also a good way to test that it's actually working if you do have trouble pairing it. So let's just click this once, and there it is. Okay, one device deleted. So that worked fine, so it's been excluded. So let's just go through the pairing process now. And the way I like to pair is just generic scan. You could probably look for it on the list by brand or type, but I just like to do a generic scan for Z-Wave devices. Alright, so now I'm going to click it once. It's looking, and it usually takes 20 or 30 seconds. Alright, so it's found it. Alright, so let's try this pairing process again. So what happened the first time was it asked for the DSK, which I guess is a number to do with the S2 security or to scan the barcode. And both of those were on the back of the switch, which of course is already installed in the wall. So I had to go through my videos and look for the DSK number, so it lets you to do either scan the QR code or put the DSK in. So let's try again, and there, so it found the device, secure setup. It's going to ask, it wants me to enter, either scan the code, which I don't know. I can enter the PIN, and let me look it up here. Okay, I'm going to type it in. Guess it's a GE device, so let's rename it. Porch. I have two sets of, well, three sets really, but let's just call this Porch Light 2. I can turn it off and on, and I'm going to later add some automation in combination with a motion sensor. Let's do the pairing process for the Meross dimmer. So that pairing process should be a little simpler, except that you first have to get it in the app, and then you have to connect the app to SmartThings so it comes into SmartThings. I don't want to use it in the Meross app. I just want one app, ideally. It doesn't actually work out that way in my homes. I'm in the Meross app, and I want to add a device, and I think this is blinking, which means it's already looking. We just want a smart switch. Oh, I don't know the model number. Let's see. It looks like this one here. Let's try that one. Give me some instructions on the install. We can skip all that because we've already done all that. Alright. Yes, we want to connect to this device. Okay, so it's connected to my network, and it's nice that it's hidden my password. Oh, got a little blink above me here, I guess to signify a connection. Lets me link with Amazon or whatever. Okay, it's called a bedroom light. I can hear them going, it's going off and on. So let's edit this if we can. Not that it matters in this app because I won't be using this app. I can turn it off and on. And how do I control the dimming? Oh, I guess I go like that. That's pretty cool. So I can dim it all the way up. And that's in the Meross app. That's kind of cool. So off on. Alright. Okay, so for the dimming switch, which is a Meross device in the cloud through a Wi-Fi connection, you can use it with the Meross app, but I really want it in the SmartThings app because I'm already connected with Meross in my SmartThings app. It shows up in the unassigned room as a bedroom light. So it'll work in SmartThings, but let's just rename it. And let's change the icon. Alright, so it's there, so now I can turn it on and off with my phone. And you heard it click over there. And I'll just do it again, and you can watch the light change. It's gone off and on. And I can dim it with my phone. Off and on. I'm not sure if you can see those dimming lights. Oh yeah, you can. So let's, I can change the dimming. And of course the lights behind me are going up and down. In conclusion, I like both these switches. I picked the Z-Wave one, I guess mostly because of its price. It seems like, ideally I would use Z-Wave for this as well, but it just seems they're kind of priced out of my interest. And Z-Wave or Zigbee are better because it's a direct connection to the hub, and this has to go through the cloud, so you really need to deal with a second app to get this up and running before you connect it to SmartThings. So they're both good devices. Okay, so it would have been better if they had an up click instead of just a down click, but otherwise I like the two buttons for the dimming. And it would have been better if they had the terminal blocks instead of the pigtail wires. And this device, works like I expected, and it seems fine. And the only thing in general is, like I mentioned earlier, it would be great if somebody designed a switch that looked just like a regular rocker panel switch with maybe an integrated micro motor to move the switch up and down. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and look for my next video, which is going to be on scene controllers and buttons.